Hello amigos and possible amigos, my name is Taff316 and welcome back to another reaction video and welcome my 8th reaction to Have I Got News For You. So, the episode we're going to watch today, I want to warn you, is in terrible quality. Like, very bad quality. Not necessarily unwatchable, but close to there. So you might be wondering, why are you doing an episode in such bad quality? Well, because it's the only copy of it I could find, and to do something of this quality, it would have to really pique my interest. And, well, it's got two people that we've been featured on the channel a lot. Gordon Ramsay is the host, and Peter Serafinowicz is one of the panelists. So that's how we got there.
If I make any more than 6 mistakes tonight, you're all coming to Clarity's and my guest for dinner, okay? 6 only.
All right, bet. Gotta get that oil. Oh,
Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Gordon Ramsay. In the news this week, on his return to work, Richard Hammond decides to give up driving and take the safer option of being a race steward. In the car park at the Beatrix Potter Museum, one pensioner tries to leave without paying... Oh, first one.
Is this right after Hammond almost died?
The chicken looks good, doesn't it? Split a Chateaubriand? Yeah.
Right. In the car park at the Beatrix...
Here we go. So boy? Oh, I think so. 6 along. Mushy peas go with that.
Oh, dear. Gentlemen, please. In the car park at the Beatrix Potter Museum, one pensioner tries to leave without paying for her Peter Rabbit egg cup.
Oh, shit.
The House of Commons football team admit it was a big mistake to put David Blunkett in goal. On Ian Hislop's team is a comedy writer, an actor whose recent series of spoof science programmes include one which explains how all germs come from Germany. Spoof, you mean they don't? Please welcome Peter Serafinowicz. Good to see you. And with Paul Merson tonight, a broadcaster and journalist who's been described by various newspapers as a difficult man, a stickler, an abrasive, short-fused, megalomaniac Scot. Don't you just hate people like that? Please welcome Andrew Neil. And we start with round 1. Paul and Andrew, here's your starter for 75 quid.
OK,
Gordon Ramsay's kitchen.
Yes. This must be one of the many careers that's got a... One of them's got a nuclear weapon. There's the invisible hurdle race. He's clapping the winner.
It's the North one.
This is, yes, they've... which one is it? North Korea?
Yes.
North Korea it is.
They've got a nuclear weapon and they've blown it up, so they haven't got it now. So, you needn't worry anymore. It went off underground.
It's about the size of a truck.
Yeah.
And I read a very cheery piece which said, rather like Paul, you don't have to worry, because it wasn't really a nuclear bomb. He's so bonkers, he just took a truck full of explosive and let it off and said it was a bomb. We all believed it.
North Korea is a pretty scary country, isn't it, yeah? Really
yes,
scary.
it is. Well, it's run by this man, Kim Jong-il, who's mad. And I say that knowing that, you know, he can deliver a truck-sized nuclear bomb to my house.
Let's just have a quick look at the army in action.
Oh, shit. They'd be getting it in. Nice kick.
So they don't make great dance partners, do they?
No.
The idea that the scientists are working on the bomb, they're partly, but mostly they're working on his hair transplant and those shoes, because he has 2 main concerns in life, apart from the death of most of his own people. One is how to get taller, and the other is how to replace his hair. And most of North Korea's productivity and output is based on those 2 things.
Why didn't he just get a tall wig and solve both problems in one go?
What was the reaction in South Korea?
People were astonished, and then nostalgic, and then rather upset.
Let's have a quick look at this.
What's Harry Potter got to do with it?
Effigies of Kim burning. I've been working on my own Walt Thompson for ages, and it's nowhere near as good as that, I can assure you. How did Putin respond to the news, according to the Telegraph?
What, you don't like Andy Warhol Thompson? He said, well, you know, international diplomacy can only go so far.
Yeah, true.
No, Putin immediately rang the warehouse.
What about you?
White
You
House.
hated it?
The five?
Putin actually rang the
Jump to
White
five?
House to stress that he
I
needed
know, I
to...
preferred warehouse. Get me some more weapons, I'm going to run out with this guy. The whole load of them on pallets just waiting to be delivered.
Putin immediately rang the White House, OK, to stress
They
the
said
need
a
of-
lunatic's got nuclear weapons. I'm going to ring the White House. Join the club.
Talk to me about that. I've got Gordon Ramsay and Andy Warhol Thompson over here. Trying to sort those two out.
Oh, dear. Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Does
Is that
anyone...
how you speak in your kitchen?
Gordon would lose it.
Chef, 15 lambs dinners just got down the toilet. Oh, well, shall we continue? Nothing gets to me, you know.
Forget kitchen nightmares, it's kitchen agreeable experience.
Daydreams. Now, the papers have been full of other fascinating facts about Kim Jong-il. Any remember any?
He was a puppet in Team America.
Yeah. He was, yeah.
Most of the planet thinks that he sings I'm So Ronry. It's sad, it's true.
And he's best friends with Alex Baldwin.
Yeah. He's known as the dear leader. His father was the great leader, and he's the dear leader, because people like him. Because if they don't like him, they die.
Yeah.
Which is a way of becoming dear.
He's known as the dear leader. So if you write a letter to him, do you write dear, dear leader?
True, yeah.
Or is he a leader of deer? Like Father Christmas.
Paul, haven't you been out to the East recently?
I went to China.
China.
The conductor said, I'm sorry about this, he's a new driver.
This is the nuclear weapons test in North Korea. Kim Jong-il has 2,000... Sorry, start that again. 6, yes.
The 6, yeah.
I think in these new Labour terms, we're going to have to redefine this. When Gordon promised you dinner, it was an aspiration. It was a target. It was a lie.
Kim Jong-il has 20,000 Hollywood films, lives off lobster and champagne, and surrounds himself with a group of naked dancing girls called the Pleasure Squad. If they get Sky Sports as well, count me in. The latest theory is that the explosion may not have been a nuclear bomb after all, which is bad news for the Koreans. If they haven't got weapons of mass destruction, the Americans will definitely invade.
True.
Ian, Peter, here's yours.
Oh, good. We get the question where we die. Well, there's an example of what's going to happen. Back to North Korea.
What did Jack Straw actually say?
He said, I've occasionally asked women wearing veils if they would take them off. The papers then said, Straw tells Muslim women to take them off. And a few days later, he was instructing them and insisting. He didn't, he just asked. Then, later on, lots of other people have jumped into the debate saying, yeah, I don't think veils are a particularly great idea. And other people have said, I'd rather say nothing at all because I don't want to die.
Same, I'm in that boat.
What's your view, Ian?
My view, I'm...
Yeah,
I think he's quite right. He's perfectly entitled to ask. I don't think you can legislate about it, but a lot of Islamic commentators and Muslim women have said, historically, this is a way of subjugating women, and it's not terribly desirable. So I think it's perfectly all right for us to talk about it, providing no one wants to kill me.
for now.
Well, Salman Rushdie, his quote this week was "veils suck," and suddenly he's talking like he's a 16-year-old American schoolgirl. Like, veils suck.
His follow-up question, they said, do you really mean that, Salman? He said, oh, whatever. As if.
Veils, they're like, they suck, they're awesome, who cares?
This is the row created by Jack Straw over whether or not Muslim women should wear the veil. In a twist of the story, it emerged that the newsreader Fiona Bruce has stopped wearing a crucifix around her neck.
Why does he keep
Spokesman for
moving
the
like
BBC denied there was a ban saying We don't have rules on what people can wear. Didn't stop them doing 8 bloody series of Trini and Susanna.
And the reason Fiona Bruce doesn't wear the crucifix anymore because the Tory leadership has changed.
Really?
Yeah. You don't need it for Cameron, but for Howard.
Yeah, it was life-size.
It was very
The
detailed.
life-size crucifix he was wearing, wasn't it, Gordon?
I didn't see it.
Didn't
From
you?
6 o'clock news, I'm normally in the kitchen.
Really?
Yeah.
Preparing the canapé.
Asking the sous chef if he'd mind terribly getting the starters.
So it's to round 2, and I'm afraid it's the picture spin quiz. Gentlemen, fingers on the buzzers, please.
Oh shit, it's a bird.
That's a woodpecker. and that's a piece of wood, and it's about to peck. And
Yep.
they've discovered woodpeckers have this sort of brain tissue, this extra layer of brain tissue that stops them getting real headaches. Because they would
Really?
why does a woodpecker not get headaches? Because it's banging its head against the wood the whole time. And its brain is floating in a special anti-knocking material.
Of course.
It's sort of a cider.
Yeah. It's certainly made from apples, they know that much.
A woodpecker bangs his head against the hard surface about 12,000 times a day, yes?
Yeah.
A bit like I did when I had Edwina curry in my bloody kitchen. This is the vital research into why woodpeckers don't get headaches, which won the alternative to the Nobel Prize, the Ig Nobel Prize this week. OK, the Ig Nobel Prize for Chemistry went to a team of Spanish scientists for their research into cheddar cheese. What were they looking for?
Seafood of life.
You can probably
Want
find
to
it
look
in cheddar
after them
cheese.
at weekends. You know, what could you possibly expect to find in cheddar cheese that you didn't know already?
The velocity of ultrasonic sound in cheddar cheese.
Yeah, but apart from that,
Yeah.
The physics prize went to research into dry spaghetti often breaks into more than 2 pieces. Why?
You're the chef.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Yeah, Gordon.
I'm not saying that scientists are easily pleased, but here's a picture of one of them conducting an experiment. OK, the winner of the Ig Nobel Prize in Medicine discovered an unusual way for curing hiccups. What was it?
Don't you drink a glass of water the wrong way? Isn't that how you do it? So you get mostly airium.
Through your ass.
You try and
I mean, I know what your clientele are like. No, usually through the mouth water, or have I slightly missed the point of it?
Really bizarre. By using digital rectal massage.
Everything's computers these days, isn't it?
Jeez.
The study was published in the Annals of Internal...
In the what of?
Annals of Internal Medicine.
Right, really?
After a man had been hiccuping for 3 days, Dr. Francis Fresmere, for reasons that remain unclear, attempted a rectal massage.
Well, I've tried everything else.
No, I'll try the other side of the glass again. No, I've got it.
The frequency of hiccups immediately began to slow.
Did he cut his nails? You'd know, wouldn't you?
With the termination of all hiccups within 30 seconds, yes? And termination of Mr. Fresmere's contract shortly after that.
Yeah.
OK, Ian and Peter, the mathematics prize went to the team which calculated how many group photos had to be taken to ensure that nobody's blinking. How did they get that right?
Ah, digital rectal... Yeah,
You need a lot of them for, say, a school photo.
The team came up with an advice that if there are more than 50 people in the picture, the solution is to give up.
It's amazing
Fair
what
enough.
science can do.
This is the Ig Nobel Awards. The winner of one award was the inventor of a high-pitched noise that adults can barely hear. Another award went to the doctor who's thrust a finger into someone's rectum to cure hiccups. Coincidentally, this was also how the high-pitched noise was discovered. Fingers on the buzzers.
Oh, God.
That's the result of Kim Jong-il's experiment.
No, this man's just having his hiccups cured.
What's the good news this week for people with no hair?
Apparently there's a new technique, which if you're very, very rich, you can give someone a huge amount of money. They will inject your head with hair follicles. You will look as though you have pubic hair on your head. Your friends will laugh at you, you'll be very poor, and the scientists will be very rich. In the old days, you got hair from the back here
Right.
and flapped it over the front.
What actually happens...
Just before you sang Candle in the Wind, usually. Just... No. Very unfair.
Next picture.
Oh.
We've got very bad table manners. We eat very badly. We don't eat very well. We eat badly. We eat badly. We don't eat very well.
Yes, I'm licking a plate quite extreme. Most of it was about eating with a fork in your right hand.
Yep.
Generation of children who don't know what a knife is. Well, I mean, obviously for stabbing other people. But,
Are they unaware of its culinary tradition?
I think they're entirely unaware that you can use it in the right hand with a fork and then use it to cut things. Like nuggets.
67% of diners put their elbows on the tables, a quarter of them burp loudly at meal times, and just under a quarter lick the plate clean.
What about curing hiccups at the dinner table?
Are we being told that 25% of people in this country lick the plate clean? That can't be right.
Certainly not in my restaurant, that's for sure. Where are the
They
worst...
don't finish the food in your restaurant?
Got him.
I've been doing this for years, Gordon. I'll keep your head down if I were you. That's what I do, you know. Like, if I walked into your kitchen and tried to make a shepherd's pie, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be mouthy about it, do you know what I mean?
Thank you. Fingers on buzzers.
Damn, Paul's
Gentlemen.
cooking him.
That's the danger of showing that you must never go mountaineering with a guide dog. When they get the sniff for the summit, you can't stop them.
This is Blunkett's diaries, yeah?
Yeah, he's published his diaries. He's been complaining about other people intruding into his privacy for years, so he thought he'd do it now.
Fair enough.
So he's told us everything we need to know about himself, and quite a lot we don't. But it's very exciting. Wherever you go, you can see Blunkett. Telling you about how he was always right in all the decisions he made. Everyone
Of
else
course.
was wrong and ghastly.
How he
and
was going mad.
How he was going
So
mad.
he was going mad, so it was just as well he wasn't doing an important job like national security.
Of course, yeah.
Home secretary.
It's a long, self-serving, self-indulgent, drivelling rant disguised as a book.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
I didn't like it much.
No?
Actually, I have a few more extracts from the book. Here's one during the war in Iraq. Week beginning March 24th, 2003. We're still having these blasted 8:30 meetings every day on the conduct of the war. They're a real nuisance. What a drag, yeah. What was the job again?
Blunkett says that Gordon Brown was actually not supporting the war in Iraq, which would be quite nice to know if he's going to be the next Prime Minister. But he didn't thought he'd mention it to anyone, and he didn't say it in the Cabinet. And then Blair said, if you don't support the war, you're sacked. And Brown, because he's a tough bloke, said, right, Tony. I support the war.
Good job,
I thought
Gordon.
it's just an interesting gobbit for our next leader.
Do you believe that?
Oh, it's in Blunkett's book, isn't it? It's probably right.
This is the so-called David Blunkett tapes, a no-holds-barred memoir that tells us almost as much as we read in the tabloids at the time. Blunkett was at the centre of the world events again on 9/11, 2001. He tells us Jimmy Young was being forced to retire. He rang me later that week to see if I could help him get his job back. In fact, I did put in a word for him, so not such a bad day after all. After his resignation,
Jimmy Young phoned the then Home Secretary to get his job back at the BBC. How does that work, exactly?
I don't know.
This is David Blunkett here. Reinstate Jimmy Young. OK.
Well, you'd seen it work when the nanny rang up and said, can I have a quick application for a visa? Yeah, bang, through.
After his resignation, Blunkett's successors accused him of leaving the Home Office in a mess. Be fair, guys, you try hoovering, holding a dog at the same time. Fingers on buzzers.
Google. And YouTube.
YouTube have been sold to Google. Google have bought YouTube. YouTube.
Oh, wow, this is when
Google,
this
and Google
happened.
bought YouTube.
Yeah.
They came up with the idea of YouTube about 18 months ago, and they've got billions of pounds, could have sold it to Google, and Google have given them millions of pounds because they bought it from YouTube. YouTube has been sold to Google.
Well, what happened?
I'm not sure, I don't know what this is about.
And so who made the money?
YouTube, because there was two blokes.
Nobody made the money.
Ah.
Nobody made the money because there was no money involved in this deal. The purchase by Google of YouTube was entirely in Google shares, which they can't sell. So if the Google shares go down, they lose. Not a penny passed in this.
They've got shares they can't sell?
Yeah.
Is that the same as having no shares at all? Yes.
It's this new kind of media which is going to do all of us here out of a job, in which the public themselves provide the content. Murdoch bought MySpace, ITV bought My Friends, now...
He bought your friends?
Well, I had to. And one I wasn't sure about anyway. You got a discount with him. And the point about YouTube is it gets 100 million people a week go onto the site.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Most of the stuff on YouTube
Even
is
more
clips
now.
of people doing silly things like this.
I miss when YouTube was like this. Now it's just a bunch of people making shitty reaction videos. Oh my god!
Extraordinary. Unbelievable. Round 3 is the odd one out. Just one this week. William Pitt the Younger, Desperate Dan, Boris Johnson, and Kimberly of Girls Aloud.
I think it's, well, that was Pitt the Younger. Well, he was famously on his deathbed, so I would love one of Bellamy's veal pies, I think he said. So it must be about pies.
Yeah, John Bellamy was actually the deputy housekeeper at the House of Commons, who in 1773 set up a grill for hungry MPs.
What did he call it? The Hungry MP Grill?
I suppose they called it the Porky Pie.
Pretty good.
All that nicely pays off. Desperate Dan, of course, eats cow pies. Boris Johnson, in his befuddled manner,
He eats cow pies?
words out the English language and, and suggested that parents who forced pies or burgers through school gates were doing their kids a favour.
He said he was the leader of the Pie Liberation Front.
Oh, really? And what was the last one? She's from Girls Aloud, did you say?
The Girls Aloud one is the odd
she
one
the
out,
odd one
because
out?
she doesn't eat pies.
The answer is they all like pies except that Kimberly from Girls Aloud, who hates them.
Ah.
Boris Johnson, he likes pies.
Yes, he does, yeah.
So what happened at the Tory conference?
Well, he sort of...
Nothing, actually, nothing happened at all.
Nothing happened much.
Absolutely nothing.
And then it was enlivened by Boris's supposed gaffes, one of which being saying that he didn't approve of children in cars wearing seatbelts. He didn't wear a seatbelt when he was a child in a car, and it didn't do him any harm.
Why did he cause such a stir?
Because there wasn't much else in the papers that day.
Fair
He
enough.
took on a chef, a really
Oh, yeah.
famous chef who people like. And it's a terrible thing to do.
And he's such a nice guy, isn't he?
Oh,
A great
Great
chef.
Maybe you should go to his restaurant after.
Yeah.
so what actually happened to Boris when he
What
came
was
out?
his name again?
Oh,
Jamie.
Jamie...
Not Jamie Oliver.
Yes.
Yes.
A force for good, I would say.
Yeah.
Only more chefs were like him.
Rather well spoken, don't you think?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I'm sure most of you have seen it, but if you haven't, look up the Jamie Oliver chicken nugget video. It's so funny. That's all I'll say. If you've never seen that, look that up.
Yes.
Yes.
A force for good, I would say.
Yeah.
Only more chefs were like him.
Rather well spoken, don't you think?
Yes, indeed.
What happened to Boris outside?
He was tarred and feathered. He was chased by the media.
Yeah, would
There's
you
a
like...
huge scrum of desperate journalists
right, yeah.
looking for a story.
Yeah, have a quick look at the media scrum outside. They actually hounded him.
Boris, you've given us the only story of the conference.
I don't know what is the story then? Can I just ask you in all sincerity, do you not think it possible that you've slightly over-egged this one? It's a little bit wrong, isn't it? You're over-egging it. Is it possible that you've actually, you know, making a bit of a mountain out of a mole?
There's a statue of Desperate Dan in Dundee, and no one knows who Desperate Dan was originally modelled on. Ugly face, silly beard, and too many pies. Here's my guess.
It's a very negative world, George, isn't it?
I think food should be prepared with love. How is Anthony these days?
Oh, he's such a splendid chap.
Isn't he just? The only F word he uses is fricassee, you know.
We come now to our missing words round, which this week features the guest publication in a nutshell. The magazine for squirrel lovers. What? Real tossers. And we start with topical squirrel accidentally introduced to what?
Topical.
Cocaine.
Topical squirrel, you just said. You just read out. Topical squirrel.
A topical squirrel, what? Did he address the Tory conference? I'm nuts. Well, fair enough.
We're back to David Blunkett.
Actually introduced to the Duchess of Kent. Terrible faux pas. There was a big waiting line, and the squirrel jumped in. And they said, "Have you met Mr. Squirrel?"
Ah, it's Spain.
Close.
Spain.
Ian and Peter? The answer's Italy.
Ah.
Here's a delightful poem on the back of a recent In a Nutshell magazine, written by Janet Miller. She writes, "Squirrels, squirrels everywhere. Squirrels, squirrels in my hair. Don't look now, but someone said I've got a squirrel on my head." Seriously. And for any doubters out there, here's a picture of Janet.
She's had that baldness cure.
Yeah. It's just squirrels.
Next, landing on what saves Paul's life.
Is it Heather McCartney?
Fat goose. I fell out of a plane last week and landed on a fat goose. I told the papers not to talk about it, but, you know, you can't keep yourself scarred.
Had Anthony cooked it?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
And, you know, because it was so crispy, I bounced back up into the plane.
That wouldn't have happened with some chefs I know.
No. Some chefs will still be swearing at it in the kitchen.
The answer is his rubber wig.
Oh, back to wigs now.
This is the story of skydiving Elvis impersonator Paul Moran, whose rubber wig apparently helped save his life when his parachute opened late. According to the event manager, his family say he's doing well. Not that well. He's a skydiving Elvis impersonator. Next. Motorists found what down under?
Guilty-looking stingray.
Oh, that was the same year, too.
Driving backwards.
Fuck.
This is the story of an Australian man who was caught by the police driving backwards down the Great Eastern Highway. It's not all that bad news for Mr. Poulton. Having driven backwards through 3 speed cameras, the government now owes him $300. So the final scores are Ian and Peter have 4, Paul and Andrew have 7. But before we go, there's just time for caption competition. Ian and Peter have this.
New Age Nazis?
Helen Mirren faces stiff competition for Oscar this year. Anyone need to go to the loo?
Paul and Andrew get that.
Ah, I think I can just see the first course arriving.
And I leave you with the news that before a fringe event at the Labour conference, there's a mix-up on the overhead projector as Sherry is given the notes of John Prescott's speech. After cooking a goodwill lunch to end his feud with Boris Johnson, chef Jamie Oliver confesses that he may have overdone it with the chilies. And coming home from a modelling assignment abroad, Kate Moss regrets asking Pete Doherty to look after a cat. Good night. Thank you.
So I was reading up on Andrew Neil. The most interesting thing I found is that in the late 90s, he claimed that AIDS does not form from HIV, and that HIV is a politically correct virus. Whatever the fuck that means. Also, what he did more recently, GB News, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. On September 25th, Neil announced that he was leaving the BBC to become chairman of GB News, a news channel launched on June 13, 2021. As well as being chairman, he presented Andrew Neil primetime evening program on the channel. 2 weeks after the channel's launch, however, and after having hosted 8 episodes, he announced he'd be taking a break. He spent months on his hiatus, involved in legal disputes with GB News over ending his contract. However, Neil and the channel publicly maintained that he was taking a holiday, and he was expected to rejoin the channel in early September. As that time approached, multiple news sources reported that his return had been postponed, with some speculating the postponement might be indefinite. It was further reported that he was highly unlikely to return. On September 13th of 21, he resigned as chairman and lead presenter, announced he would enter a new role as guest contributor. Later on that month's BBC Question Time, he said he had left all his roles at GB News over the direction the channel was taking, and that he had become a minority of one within senior management. He later regretted his decision, calling it the single biggest mistake of his career to lead the channel, and compared the channel to a British version of Fox News. Well, good job, Andrew. Jesus. At least he got out, I guess. As far as that episode goes, Gordon definitely seemed out of his element. Peter didn't say much. Peter just seemed like he was vibing and maybe a little high. But when he did chime in, it was funny. Gordon definitely seemed a bit out of his element, though, and nervous. And Paul was fucking on him in that one. And that's really Paul's role. You know, if you're, you know, not, you know, in it as a presenter, he's gonna tear you a new one. You know, you gotta be on your game, because he always is on his game. Well, that is going to do it for another reaction to Have I Got News for You. Next time, I think I might do the episode after Boris Johnson resigned, because I hear that one's kind of a fun one. But that is it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, my Twitch, where I stream every single day, my second channel, 316 Reviews, my Twitter. If you want to follow me on my Patreon, if you want to support me or my Daily Motion, all those things are in the video description down below, as well as the Twitch Files channel and the community Reddit. Thank you also to all my patrons who are named in the video description for supporting me and my channels. For those who don't know, you can be a patron of me for as little as $1 or £1, and you get access to the reaction videos, as well as read your comments up to a day early, sometimes more. Well, that being said, though, my name is Taff16. It's been my 8th reaction to Have I Got News for You, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.